All right, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. The double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is The Lord of Hosts, mustered the host of the battle. Right, and ultimately, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is just gathering the nations for battle, for war. Right, Isaiah 13:4, it says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord Yahweh Bashmiel shall host muster the host of the battle. And ultimately, what we're entering into, is World War III, right? Which we are already in World War III. That's why you have, these things taking place, whether it's different ships in the ocean being exploded, the different threats, the different missiles being hit. You have Trump, launching off attacks over there on Venezuela and threatening others, with war. You have the situation with Russia and Ukraine. You have, China and North Korea kind of in the mix over there. You have, of course, EU and NATO in the mix over there too. And then, of course, you have Israel, doing little things that they're doing. Right, and these are all the grand nations, right? That's going to take part in this World War III, right? And they're all moving, they're all, doing something, handling something, right? Dealing, regarding war or trying to help an ally. You have Russia and China, even Iran, are concerned about, which Iran plays a big part too, about what's happened over in Venezuela. Just like you have Israel, NATO, EU, America concerned about what's happening in Ukraine. Right, and of course you have the Taiwan issue. Even Japan is sending shots towards China, talking about, if you do something, we gonna do something. So it's here. In 2026 is definitely gonna be interesting. Right, Revelations 11:14 says the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. So that's just the time we're living in, and we're just giving you warning because all of this is going to happen at the same time, pretty much. You have this war brewing, right? You have the MOTB brewing, and of course Jacob's troubles brewing, right? And the scriptures say they're going to move with great wrath because they know if they have but a short time. They keep saying things like the window, this is the perfect window to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish, and they said we can't do it with nobody else but Trump. You had this guy, the prime minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Jew, basically, saying he wants a pardon, for all the war crimes that he's been committing and whatnot. But ultimately, he also said that the trials and the court cases that's on him is taking up time for them to accomplish their agenda, their mission, and we already know their agenda is the greater Israel, right? The 2030 agenda and all these different things. And he's saying that basically it's those court cases are taking away the time for him to do these things. He also mentioned Trump is, helping him because Trump actually sent a letter to the president, which I didn't even know Israel has a president. I thought the prime minister was the president, but no, he sent a message to the president, right? I believe it's the president of Israel. I'll have to double check, but you can search it up and see who he sent it to. But he sent a letter to the president to try to pardon Benjamin Netanyahu. So they're all working together, but ultimately, we're in that time. All right, so there's a lot happening. It says here, time for everything. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, for everything there's a season, a time for every activity under heaven, right? NLT. It's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, right? A time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to quit searching, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak. We're in that time now where we're speaking, but pursuant to Amos 8:11, right? Once all these things I'm talking about starts to increase, the Most High Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is going to make it so, we're not speaking. Right, basically, people are going to be looking for the word of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, and they won't be able to find it. Right, it says a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And the scriptures tell us that, they had their years of peace, right? When, the nations were, subject to them, right? Second Thessalonians, First Thessalonians 5 and 3, KJV. First Thessalonians 5 and 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as to dwell upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. And that's what we're witnessing right now, right? We're witnessing the many different, peace talks and things like that. And basically what comes out of it is nothing. And sometimes people leave more upset, right? So, check this out right here. Once again, it's just another warning on, the things to come, right? They're written in the scriptures because they're faithful and they're true. And we can clearly see these things playing out, right? And it's looking like everything is at the door ready, right? That's what the scriptures talk about. When the plagues come, they shall not be slack. Everything is ready. Everything is intensifying. It's gonna burst. And the scriptures talk about that. Let me see. I believe it's the 30. Let me see. Like 32. Yeah, right here. Okay. Isaiah 30 and 8 says, now go write it before them in a table and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. Right? Get you out of the way, turn aside out of the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. Wherefore, thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word, and trust in oppression and in perverseness, and stay thereon. Right? So that's what you trust in, in America, right? Babylon the Great. It says, therefore, this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. So all these things are right here. It's like just waiting. He says, calamity will come upon you suddenly, like a bulging wall that bursts and falls. In an instant, it will collapse and come crashing down. Right. So, like I said, you have Jacob's trouble, the MOTB in war, and it's about it's the swarm, right? Jacob's trouble as a day like never before, right? So all these things will be going on and happening at one time. You're in war. Martial law. The cities are troubled. There's no food. The trade routes is disrupted, right? That's what Trump is going over there to get oil from Venezuela because they're worried about potential risk regarding the Strait of Hormuz, right, being closed down for when Israel attacks Iran, because that's another war that's going to take place. So, and everything, so basically trade is going to stop. You see Trump is closing flights over Venezuela. How is Venezuela going to get any type of products or anything like that? Or however, through usually things that come in through air travel, that's stopped. It's done because you can't fly over there. Trump closed it down. Right? You have ships in the ocean that's coming from Russia trying to go to, wherever they're going to, and they're being destroyed. They're just being shot, right? Made to not be able to operate anymore. Right? And you got things like the Panama Canal, right? And all these different things. Once all this stuff starts taking place, that's gonna mess up everything. All right. So all of this is gonna be right there in your face at one point, because that's what we can see. Okay. So let me grab this video.
Some pretty intense developing news coming out in the past couple of hours today, December 2nd, 2025. Let's take a look at the latest headlines with me. Putin says that if Europe wants war, then Russia is ready. Putin sends a chilling World War III threat to the UK hours before peace talks. He says, we are ready to fight. World War III fears as Russia warns of a full-scale nuclear war after NATO threat. Russia is ready for war with Europe, Putin says. We will target tankers of countries helping Ukraine. And Putin says Russia is ready for war if Europe wants it. All of this just coming out in the past couple of hours today, December 2nd, 2025, as we are hearing that things are intensifying. And take a look. We saw that meeting take place with the United States and Russia today. I'm going to share with you the video footage. Putin shows little sign of compromise as he meets U.S. for Ukraine talks. No compromise on territory after Ukraine talks with the United States, Russian officials say. Russia-U.S. talks on Ukraine peace plan, constructive, but no compromise reached on territory, says the Kremlin. And the Kremlin calls talks with Witkoff useful, but says no compromise on Ukraine has been found. And we're hearing that there have been war threats and things have been intensifying with the negotiations. And it looks like things are just not coming to a conclusion with the war with Russia and Ukraine. They're saying Russia is not budging. Let me know your thoughts. Russia issuing out these war threats prior to the deals, the negotiation talks. Do you think that we're going to be seeing war entering into 2026, or are we going to be seeing peace? Let me know what you think is around the corner. Drop it in the comments, war or peace. What do you think is about to unfold next? As we are hearing that right before this meeting, Russia says, if you want a war, we're ready for it. In fact, we're ready for World War III. In fact, we're ready for full-scale nuclear attacks. You just let us know what decision you want to make. We saw this video footage hours ago today, December the 2nd, 2025, from Vladimir Putin. And we saw that meeting take place as well. So I'm going to get you caught up on the latest, let you know exactly what's taking place. I'm going to hyperlink all of my articles in the description. I cite the sources, put it on.
So, he said what he said, but, these people don't know what's going on, right? The prophets have the answers, all right? It's at 60. And it's through the media, people actually think Russia is losing, because that's what they're telling them. Isaiah 60:2 says, "For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord Yahweh Bashmashah shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee." Right. So we have the truth, we have the understanding, right? But these people, gross darkness, they don't know what's going on, right? They're still trusting and believing in their government even after the information about the 2020 juice jab came out to be true, that they did something wicked, right? Some maggots still think gas is $2 and groceries is a new word that has an older word or whatever the fuck, So gross darkness to people. All right, so here's that statement. Just to confirm some of that articles that you've seen. It says Moscow does not intend to go to war with Europe, as it has reiterated many times. And I said that too. Just from just watching and seeing, what's happening and how, Russia basically tried to join NATO so many times. It's not Russia to wanting to go to war with, Europe, NATO, or America. It was them wanting this war. But the Most High Yahweh Bashmashah is turning Russia back, right? And that's exactly what's happening, right? You can see the buildup for Russia, the strength that they're showing now. They're, making all these missiles, and the missile factories are, moving rapid. Many talk have come out to say Russia is making missiles at rapid speeds, and America is basically making a certain amount of missiles per year, and Russia is beating them, 4 times over on that, And then, so Ezekiel 38:4 says, Ezekiel 38:3, and say, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashmashah, behold, I'm against thee, O Gog," right, which is Russia, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, right, which goes into Turkey, right, and many other people will be joined with Russia. It says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shield, all of them handling swords." It's been reports that which I've seen the thumbnail, that Russia has so-called secret, basically weapon factories in Venezuela where they're making guns, whatnot. But like I stated, confirmed that Russia is making missiles and things like that on their own, and they're showcasing these things, and whatnot. But it goes on to say the people joining Russia, all the ones handling swords, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Tokomar of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. So many nations are going to be joined unto Russia. It says, "Be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." So it says, "Be thou prepared and prepare thyself," right? What it says right here. It says, however, many times it says we are not going to fight Europe. I have said this 100 times. It says, however, if Europe were to suddenly start a war, there will be no doubt that Russia will respond immediately. So they're ready. It says, Russia is acting with surgical precision in Ukraine. This is not a war. So they're not calling the war in Ukraine a war because basically, I guess they're what he said, surgical precision. You can see it's not much explosions, like people dying, mass slaughter, buildings toppling over. No, usually you just have a tank being exploded or a military personnel being exploded, or the stuff that they have or the different drones. It's not like a huge war, something like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? Or Afghanistan, things like that. It says Russia is acting with surgical precision in Ukraine. This is not a war. However, if Europe attacks, it will be different. If Europe suddenly starts a war with us, I think it will end very quickly. This is not Ukraine. With Ukraine, we are acting with surgical precision, carefully. This is not a war in the direct modern sense of the word. If Europe starts a war with Russia, Moscow will soon have no one to negotiate with. So, Moscow has been negotiating with basically, NATO and EU regarding the Ukraine situation, but he's saying like if y'all start a war, it's over for everybody. All right. It says here Europeans are offended that they were excluded from the Ukraine negotiations, but no one excluded them. They excluded themselves. Europe has no peaceful agenda. It is on the side of war. See, so like I was saying, these devils do want war, right? And they wanted what is it? Let me see. They wanted to go to war. They wanted Ukraine to basically cripple, right, Russia. And it may have worked if it wasn't for Yahweh Bashmial Shai's prophecies and his plans, right, and what he wanted done. Right, and what he wanted done was to bring back Russia to do his purpose, which is to destroy, uh, America and Israel, right? So Revelation 27, it says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. It says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, right? Russia from the land of Russia, to gather them together to battle. So Satan went out and he deceived the nations and he gathered Russia to battle. All right, Satan being Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, right? That's currently who has the power, right? Edom, right? And the hub and the base of that will be America, right? It says the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. So this goes into your World War III because many people be joined together so great in number, right, for World War III, and that's what's happening. The Most High is turning these devils back, right? Because these Russians, though a lot of them or some of them are Jake, of course, because we're scattered throughout, but they're also Edomites, and they're gonna pew pew each other. Okay. So Ezekiel 38:7 says, "Be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are similar unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." And Russia say, "Yo, we ready right now if y'all want war." So, it's ready to go pretty much. So that's another thing ready to go, right? And they have already, his top generals have already confirmed that they're in World War III. They have already confirmed that Europe won't stop, right? Basically, America, they won't stop. They're going to keep going at it. And it's prophesied in the scriptures that that's exactly what's going to happen, right? They want this war. So it's going to come to pass. It says, Ezekiel 38:8, after many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely over them. So ultimately, Russia will, be put against America and Israel. This is what it's talking about. It's going against Israel, but in America, because now in these last days we can clearly see that you don't say America without saying Israel. Basically, you don't say Israel without saying America, because they're joined together. Jeremiah 50:45 says that the least of the flock, which would be, the Amalekites, right, the JWOs over in the land of Israel, right, because the land doesn't belong to them, it belongs to the true Israelites, right, which is us. That those fake JWOs that's cosplaying would drag America to battle, and ultimately those Ukrainians, a lot of them are actually Amalekites, right? The JWOs. from Israel, right? And that's why a lot of those Ukrainians they go to Israel, right? I believe one of the generals or whatnot, like he stepped down or he got fired or something, and he went to Israel because that's where he be at. That's who they are. They're Amalekites. So America has already been dragged out, right? America has already struck Iran, even though they struck them and fell back. They already struck Iran, right? So America was dragged out to war to fight Iran. They did that. Then America co-signed Israel attacking Qatar. All right, and now America has been sending money to uh, Europe, NATO, for them to then send money to Ukraine to make it seem like they not doing nothing. But no, you have been dragged out. All right. Everyone knows that. You can't hide that you have been involved. And now they're trying to just peace and safety. We had nothing to do with it. That's what Trump struck Iran. He said, okay, now we can have peace. I just obliterated you. He said that shit on the news. We obliterated them. There's nothing left. And he came back and said, all right, now that I've obliterated you, we can have peace. That's like somebody coming up on you, stole on you and your girl. He's like, all right, bro, we good. We don't want no smoke. He just run away or something. Y'all plotting. And the scriptures say that. Obadiah 1:7. So hey, look, we ain't stupid. We're not Satan's devices. This thing is gonna go down, right? And let me grab this right quick. Obadiah 1:7, NOT says, all your allies will turn against you. They will help to chase you from your land. They will promise you peace while plotting to deceive and destroy you. Your trusted friends will set traps for you, and you won't even know about it. So this is talking about America, right? They're his trusted friends, which he's been puffing at all his friends, all the people he made allies with and whatnot. He's messing them up, and they're upset about it. Let me grab this KJV real quick. So Joel 3:9 says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. So that's what's happening. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So all the weak is the people that America has been bullying, right? Because Israel has dragged them out to the war. They've been bullying Russia, right? They've been bullying Venezuela, right? They're bullying Qatar, Iran, China, through Taiwan and whatnot, and all these different things. And now the weak are saying that they're strong and they're about to fight back, And who's going to lead them? Russia.
Some pretty intense developing news coming out in the past couple of hours today, December 2nd, 2025. As take a look at the latest headlines with me. Putin says that if Europe wants war, then Russia is ready. Putin sends a chilling World War III threat to the UK hours before peace talks. He says, we are ready to fight. World War III fears as Russia warns of a full-scale nuclear war after NATO threat. Russia is ready for war with Europe, Putin says. We will target tankers of countries helping Ukraine. And Putin says Russia is ready for war if Europe wants it. All of this just coming out in the past couple of hours today, December 2nd, 2025, as we are hearing that things are in.
Right. So the scriptures say, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. And Putin is ready for war. The scriptures say right here, Ezekiel 38:7, be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So Russia is that guard, and they're prepared and they're ready. All right, so it's only a matter of time, right? And Shalom, Tudor Select, which consists of men, women, and children, Shalom.